went fishing. I caught this suckerfish. The first moment I heard about the shark and the suckerfish, all of a sudden I got this mentoring coaching metaphor, right? Because being an athlete, I always had great coaches. And so as soon as he said a suckerfish is waiting for a shark to come by, it like spoke to my spirit. And I literally was done fishing.
Right.
I dropped my fishing pole. I went back home. I researched it all night. Then I spoke about it on stage in front of 3,000 realtors. Had never rehearsed it, never wrote a keynote, just talked about the shark, the suckerfish, and the parasite.
Right.
Someone took that raw footage, created a video on YouTube.
Nice.
We got 4.4 million views.
Ooh, all right.
That's called viral.
So
Podcast twins. Here we go, Vince. Tell the people what to do.
Back again. Listen, you already know what to do. All my people on YouTube, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Click the little bell icon so you never miss an episode every time we launch a new episode. And for all my truckers out there that's watching on Spotify, you know we got much love for you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and then share it. Right? That's all we need.
Even if you tell us we're terrible in everything we say,
Whatever it is.
Like, let's go.
Good, bad, or indifferent. You know what? Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. So
should we jump right in today, Vince?
man, let me tell you something. I'll let you do the partial and then I'll bring them in.
Vince, you brought your friend Walter Bond, a fellow Chicago boy here.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us about Walter?
Chicago legend. All the way back from when I was a little kid. See, you know, you guys later on know him as a basketball player. I know him as a baseball player. Walter Bond was the baddest baseball player on that south side of Chicago, but went on to become an outstanding basketball player within the city and did jump to the west side. But I ain't gonna talk about that.
long story.
Left us and went to the south, went to the west side, but became a great basketball player there. Went on to the University of Minnesota. Helped them Golden Gophers do some great things over there during this time frame, and then he went on to spend some significant years in the NBA, CBA, played overseas, hung all that up, and then decided to parlay that into a whole different career that has launched him to a different stratosphere, and that's what we're going to be getting into today. So today, I introduce you to my new Walter Bond.
Hey man, listen, thanks for having me here, man. We got some piping hot espresso. I've been working on my Italian.
Yes.
You know, so now I hopefully I can get some pasta, some
I only
rigatoni or something.
I only spent.
Happy to be here.
I've only spent like 17 days in Italy total. You spent a whole year living there.
Yeah, I was there about 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It was fantastic. My favorite country, favorite food, and favorite culture. You know, that siesta that they take every day from 2 to 5. And if you don't know about this, in Italy, and I don't know if they still do it, it's a small town thing, but basically every day from 2 to 5, the city shuts down and you go home and have the equivalent of a Thanksgiving dinner every day. And I loved it because not only was it great food, it really promoted family. And there's no excuse not to be home from 2 to 5 p.m. So I love Italy. I love the Italian culture. Sicily's built a little different, I heard.
Sicily is
haven't been there before. You might have a night.
I'll tell you what, though.
I'll be a good boy today because he's from Sicily.
Yeah, I'll give my commercial for Sicily. Now, my grandpa is from Sicily, so I'm partial. And I spent 5 days in Sicily by myself when I was 21, when I was on a student overseas program. And it was cool because it looked like The Godfather Part 2 still back then. I don't know how it looks now. This is 21 years ago. And they didn't have restaurants. You literally like walked into somebody's house.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
The husband primarily just caught the fish. And the wife is sitting there cleaning it and putting it on the grill or in the skillet.
I believe it.
I tell you what, it doesn't get any better than that. You said
That's
Italy's your
food.
favorite food.
That's food.
Sicily
That's food.
is another level.
I can't even imagine. I have a little known fact.
Okay.
A little trivia. You might not care, but a lot of celebrities from the U.S. have places in Sicily.
Yes.
Of which Whoopi Goldberg has a place in Sicily.
Okay.
And a buddy of mine invited me.
Is that where Diddy's parties are?
Well,
sorry.
you don't leave Diddy alone today. He got too much drama going.
Wow.
But there's a lot of U.S. celebrities that have places.
And all over
Sicily.
Italy.
Yes.
Because I went there a dozen years ago and on the cruise ship. I was there for 18 days. And let me tell you, they talked about how the celebrities come over and bought land just to get away and all these other places like that. So it's definitely all over Italy, because we did the whole boot all the way around into Croatia and all that stuff and back. So
Man, the
food,
culture, food, just unbelievable.
amazing.
My favorite country, not even
amazing,
close, not even
amazing.
close.
You know.
Well, America's my favorite country.
Well, yeah. Well,
My adopted favorite country
Right.
is Italy.
I see a podcast twins on location in Sicily in our future.
hey man, listen, somebody's going to take us there to do it.
I like that.
And
plan.
they're going to watch this episode,
That's even
and that's
better.
how we're going to get there and do
Well,
it.
if y'all go to Sicily, it's going to change the name to Triplets.
That's right.
Don't leave me behind.
Right. My man Walt, what's going on, brother? How you been?
Great, man. Got a lot
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
And, thanks for the invite,
No.
coming here, checking you guys out. I love the casual environment. I love the trophies,
Yes.
which means this show is a winner.
It's all about winners, man.
We're surrounded by championship trophies.
We got a lot of cool stuff
and
here.
title belts. And it's
Absolutely.
just fun, man. Get a chance to chop it up and
And it makes
hang
you
out with
feel
my
good.
boy from the crib
No
and just
doubt.
talk about success.
And it puts you in an environment where you feel successful, and in a lot of cases it allows us just to put us in an environment to talk crap, but then we can actually get on some real good solid subjects like what we got brought you here today to talk about is I see you got your branded the shark mindset. So this is what the launch is. I mean, look, we know that you've been out there, and you guys can go ahead and Google him out there. This man has been a big time nationwide speaker for a lot of corporations, major corporations, and still out there doing it big. The last time we were supposed to have him here, he was like, I got a call. We had to get canceled because a corporation called him out there to go out there and get their people together.
That's
so
a different kind of canceled. We
Yeah.
just rescheduled.
yeah, we rescheduled, but it's a beautiful thing because now he's transitioning the shark mindset from the boardrooms back down to the classrooms, back down to the gridirons, back down to the basketball courts. Give us a little bit about that.
Well, the whole story is one day I went fishing here in South Florida, and I'm a Chicago guy. We're
Right.
used to lakes, right? So when you're in the ocean, it's a different ball game, right?
Right.
And so I always go with the captain because I don't want to die.
Absolutely.
I like someone driving the boat that knows what they're doing, but it's my wife and my son and I, and my wife catches this little ugly fish, and the captain, I asked a simple question: can we eat it or not? That's all I care about.
Right.
Because I got the grease ready at the crib.
No doubt.
And the captain was like, no, but watch this. He takes the fish and sticks it on the top of the boat. And the fish had a suction on his head and defied gravity. And it was up there strong, man. And I was just like fascinated, like, that's weird. It has a suction on the top of his head, which means it's smart, right? And I asked the captain, how's this little weak fish making in the ocean? And he says it's waiting for a shark to come by. I said, what? It's waiting for a shark to come by. They have a symbiotic relationship with sharks. Sharks need suckerfish, and suckerfish need sharks. I was done fishing.
Yeah.
I dropped my fishing pole, and I had the captain just educate me on the shark and the suckerfish. I went home and did some research, and my next keynote was in front of 3,000 people, 3,000 realtors. We were out in San Diego with a group called Brian Buffini. He's the #1 realtor coach in the world. And I talked about the shark, the suckerfish, and the parasite because I'd done my homework. And it was just a part of my keynote. Got a standing ovation. People went crazy. When I got backstage, there was a guy named Mark Victor Hansen backstage. For those of you who don't know who Mark Victor Hansen is, he's probably the most prolific author of our time.
Okay.
He wrote the Chicken Soup for Your Soul
Ah,
series,
yes.
along with Jack Canfield. And he's about my size, right? So I get backstage, and the crowd was going bananas, and it was the first time I talked about the shark mindset. He hugged me, and he was like, dude, you got to write a book. And I was like, okay, you got to write a book about the shark, the suckerfish, and the parasite. This is who moved my cheese good.
How about it?
So when a guy like Mark Victor Hansen grabs you and says that after you just get a standing ovation in front of 3,000 realtors,
Right.
they're still cheering, they're still going bananas. And I knew it was something special the moment I heard about the shark, the suckerfish, and the parasite.
Right.
And I asked Mark Victor Hansen to help me. Well, you mentored me. He mentored me. We wrote the book Swim. It's been a bestseller. That day, the first time I talked about the shark mindset.
Don't just glaze over that. You said it's a what?
It's a bestseller.
Oh, okay. I mean, he just kind of threw that in there.
I wrote a book. It's a bestseller.
just
Let's keep
ease that
going.
in there.
Yes.
Okay.
We got companies buying 1,000 at a time.
That's what I'm talking about.
But the beauty of it was organic. I went fishing. I caught this suckerfish. The first moment I heard about the shark and the suckerfish, all of a sudden I got this mentoring coaching metaphor. right? Because being an athlete, I always had great coaches. And so as soon as he said a suckerfish is waiting for a shark to come by, it like spoke to my spirit. And I literally was done fishing.
Right.
I dropped my fishing pole. I went back home. I researched it all night. Then I spoke about it on stage in front of 3,000 realtors. Had never rehearsed it, never wrote a keynote, just talked about the shark, the suckerfish, and the parasite.
Right.
Someone took that raw footage, created a video on YouTube.
Nice.
We got 4.4 million views.
Ooh, all right.
That's called viral.
So when you get a viral video, and it's all organic,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I went fishing a week later, I'm on the platform talking about it. And I was just riffing from my spirit, to be honest with you.
Right.
And someone captured the raw video. So not only did I meet Mark Victor Hansen, we got a video, Shark Mindset, on YouTube, 4.4 million views. The Cleveland Browns coach saw the video, had me in front of his team, you know, within 10 days.
Right.
And so all this happened just so fast and organically again that I knew this was something that God just put in my lap. And the truth is, mindset is everything.
Everything.
If anyone's struggling with drugs or underperforming, we always got to go and check their mindset. You know, we live in a world now, people talking about depression, people talking about anxiety, people talking about mental health issues, and I'm glad it's evolved because when you and I grew up, mental health is like, oh, he's crazy.
Right.
You know, it's not about being mentally ill. It's about really nurturing your brain almost like a muscle.
It is.
You know, just like your wrist hurt or your ankle sore. You know, sometimes our thought life is corrupted or injured. And so sometimes a little therapy, sometimes a little rest, sometimes just a little workout,
Right.
you know, can get our brain back right. But if our mind is not right, it's over. It's a wrap. And that's why it spoke to me, because knowing my story, I flunked out my first high school.
How about it?
Why? Because my mind wasn't right.
Right.
I was convinced. And I went to Whitney Young, top academic school in Chicago.
Yeah.
I was a good ball player.
Right.
I did great with the ladies. I did great socially. But mentally, I was convinced that all those kids were smarter than me.
Right.
I just
Well, we were trained that as young kids, though, that Whitney Young kids were, oh man, smartest. They,
And what happened, I applied and didn't get accepted.
Me too.
And then I wrote a letter, my dad got me in.
Okay.
So I got in on the humbug.
Right.
So in my mind, I had a hookup, man.
I ain't had no pool.
I had a plug. I was on my way to Limblom like you.
That's what I'm like.
We would have been classmates
We were
playing
ranked,
baseball.
we were ranked number 4 in the city behind Whitney Young, Kenwood, and there was another school. But at that time, back in those days, we were ranked number 4. But proceed.
And that
You
was,
sold us out. But that's okay because
but
Could have been number 1.
the reason why the shark mindset spoke to me, because I've had moments in my life where my mind wasn't right.
Right.
And I had some help. And so my dad was a high school principal, and I shared this in my award-winning keynote, that he helped me with my mindset. And for 2 years, he kept telling me, you're just as smart as your brother and sister. My brother and sister went to Whitney Young.
Right.
And he was like, man, like, what's wrong with you, man? You're just as smart as your brother and sister. Don't
Right.
sell yourself short. Don't sell yourself out. When he first said it to me, to be honest, I was like, you just saying that because you're my dad.
Right.
I am not smarter than them, and everybody knows it.
Right.
And he's looking at me like, dude, like, what's wrong with
Like,
you?
who are you?
You are just as smart as your brother and sister. And it took him 2 years to convince me.
Mm.
And then I went on to, you know, graduating 4 years. Now I'm a thought leader.
Right.
You know, so I needed someone to help me with my mindset. When I played college basketball, I sat on the bench, man.
Yeah.
I never started in college. You know, I was a really good player coming off the bench. But in my mind, I'm like, how in the world am I going to make it to the NBA?
Right.
And I don't start in college. That was in my head, man. It was like a broken record. Like, how can I make it to the NBA? I didn't start in college. But every year, my coach would work with me, and I was voted most improved player every year.
How about that?
And he really helped me develop my confidence. We worked on my skill set until I became an NBA ball player. So when I go around and motivate, man, it's sincere.
Right.
Because I know if someone's underperforming, there's only 1 or 2 things off. It's either your mindset or we got to work on your skill set.
Okay.
You know, think about it, you're a firefighter.
Absolutely.
So if a firefighter is underperforming, we got to go and look at their mindset. Then we got to work on their skill.
Yeah.
You know, and so anything, a sales rep.
Take them
you
back
know,
to the woodshed.
Mindset and skill, or whatever the case may be, whatever you are working on, because God has given us all the spirit of dominion.
Right.
You know, some people have more talent than others. Michael Jordan was just a bad man.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But, you know, I don't have to.
He had the work ethic to match the talent that he acquired.
Michael Jordan had the mindset,
mindset
and the skill
yeah.
set. Now, he got cut off his high school team, which
Yep.
means his skill set wasn't there.
Right.
You know, so he developed the mindset and the skill set to become elite. So for all of us, the shark mindset is so popular because sharks are the apex predator in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, they're great teammates. And that's what we teach in the book Swim. A lot of people think a shark is just some ferocious, maniacal pariah. They're not. They run that ocean, they sit at the top of the food chain, but they're great teammates and they work in tandem with the suckerfish. So when people read the book Swim and they get to know about a shark, And we really humanize the shark behavior and why they're the apex predator. That's why people love it, because we're really teaching you how to be a boss.
Okay.
We're teaching you how to be elite by learning what we call the sacred six. So, for example, sharks never stop moving forward or they die. The way God built them, they can't stall, they can't go backwards or they suffocate. So literally the moment they're born, they always got to make progress. So for us, imagine that. Imagine if we got stagnant, we would suffocate and die. Literally.
That would
and
be
that's
crazy.
literally what happens with a shark. They got to keep moving forward. And anyone successful, that's their trait.
Right.
I filed bankruptcy, but we moved forward.
Right.
I got fired, but I kept moving forward.
Yeah.
I'm Michael Jordan. I got cut off my high school basketball team. But guess what, young fella? I kept moving forward. Now I'm Mike. So the one lesson, and we got 6 of them, we call them the sacred 6 because they're so powerful.
I love this.
The first one is sharks never stop moving forward. You got divorced? I got to keep moving forward. Bankruptcy? Got to keep moving forward. Oh, you got fired? That sucks, but guess what? Your mama died. Whatever it is.
Right.
Sharks never stop moving forward. And we teach what we call the sacred 6. And once a person embraces them, they literally are positioned to become the best version of themselves. And that's when you become a shark.
Boom. Give them a little preview of the Sacred 6. And are we jumping a little too far ahead?
No, I can break it down. You know,
Yeah, give 'em a little
the first
preview
one
of
is
the Sacred
I
Six.
just shared it. Sharks never stop moving forward.
Yeah.
If you think about in a baby's life, the first step they take is the most important. It's a baby step.
Right.
And so you can baby step yourself to becoming a millionaire.
Yeah.
Right? You can baby step yourself to becoming an entrepreneur. Think about all the side hustlers out here who would love to work for themselves full time.
Right.
You can, but you got to stay focused and just take baby steps.
Right.
It might take you a year, it might take you 2 years, it might take you 10. But if you keep making progress of being an entrepreneur, eventually you'll become an entrepreneur. What happens, people stop and then they die.
Right.
Then their dream dies.
Well, you get scared.
Distracted,
that's what it is.
scared.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you kind of rescind to this normal life, and you talk yourself out of what you really want to do instead of talking yourself into what. So, for example, I've done it myself. When I was at my high school flunking out, I'm looking at my parents like, "What? You know, I ain't smart as these kids. Why you tripping?"
Right.
And they looking at me like, "No, you're the one tripping." And I flunked out. I transferred to my dad's school, and before I knew it, my mind changed, and I realized these kids weren't smarter than me.
Right.
I just thought they were. And now I go back to the crib and around my people with Whitney Young, I laugh. They know what you laughing at, nothing, man.
Yeah.
It's like an inside
It's
joke.
an
'Cause
inside
I was
joke.
convinced
Yeah.
that all y'all was smarter than me.
Yeah.
And y'all weren't. But I believed it.
Yeah.
And that's when I talk about the shark mindset. Man, if your mind is right, you have the potential to become the best version of you. And once my mind got right now, I'm a thought leader on a global scale. And my mind got right and I made it to the NBA even though I didn't start in college. So I'm on a mission to recruit people who have the potential to be sharks. And I'm going to teach you how to be a shark. And I'm also going to teach you how to become a great coach and a great mentor so you can lift other people up with you.
There it is.
So what's your best advice for blocking out all the noise and excuses? Because, I mean, we're the capital in America of noise, right? We got Facebook, Instagram, Tinder, Tumblr, all these, all these different things that people are scrolling on their phone. They're watching TV.
You didn't mention Grindr. You left that one out.
Whatever. They're stagnant. Okay. They're not moving their bodies. They're not eating right. What do you say to somebody when they're like, "Oh, I can't do that"?
One, cut off the news.
Woo.
If you really watch the news,
say that again slower.
Cut off the news
for the people in the back.
Yes,
the news is riddled with bad news.
Yes.
I mean, even the weather's got negative.
Mm-hmm.
The weatherman will go find a tsunami in Thailand
Love it.
and come report it to us, even though we live in Florida. Mm-hmm. So I began to realize as a former athlete, the media had a story they wanted to tell and they go tell it.
That's right.
And they didn't care about the facts. They just had a story they wanted to tell. So for whatever reason, negative information sells.
Yes.
Right? And that the media knows that as long as it's gritty, dirty, nasty, people are going to pay attention. Like what happened to Diddy today, in the court. What happened to, we're just almost, we prostitute ourselves to get this bad information and it's not good for us. So what I tell people, cut off the news, one, and get around the right people. Now, if you hang around knuckleheads and negative people, that's going to infect you. And the analogy I give is a cigar bar. No disrespect to the cigar bar, but when you walk in a cigar bar, what does it smell like? Cigars. And you sit there 2-3 hours, smoke you a cigar.
Right.
You don't smell it anymore.
Yeah.
But you go home and your wife is like, "You smell awful."
Yeah.
Go brush your teeth.
Right.
Take your clothes off.
Burn
and
your
go.
clothes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you became one with the cigar smoke.
Right.
That's the same thing happens when you're around negative, toxic people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not careful, unknowingly, you become one with it.
Yeah.
And so you got to be careful to be around the wrong people, and you got to cut off the news. If you can do those two things,
Yeah.
just cut off the news and get around positive people, your mindset would shift almost instantly. And that's what we teach people, because sometimes they unknowingly put themselves in a toxic environment, because a lot of times it's cultural.
Yeah.
Now, if you grew up in a negative home, you don't think anything about it. Everybody's stupid, everybody's an idiot, everybody's dumb, the economy's bad, the country's bad, everybody's crazy but me.
Right.
And we got people like that and families like that, and it's normal.
Yeah.
Like, that's not normal, dude.
Right.
Run.
I agree with that, because I talk a lot about the negative words.
Yeah.
Negative words have been the downfall for most people's failures.
Yeah.
You know, and we're talking about somebody, and I'm like, all right, well, go ahead and get this done. And the words they give back to me is, I'll try.
Right.
I'm like, you either do or you don't.
Right.
You don't try. The moment you try, you just gave yourself an excuse to fail.
Yeah.
You like, I'm pre-failing, but I let you know what's gonna happen ahead of time.
Right.
So no, you can't try. You either do or you don't. And that we are soft on ourselves. We've talked about that in other podcasts about how we, we don't say, hey, I'm fat. We like, I'm pleasantly plump.
Right. I'm big bone.
I'm big bone. My man like me this way. These other things like that. But really, what it is, you giving yourself an excuse to not do the things you need to do to get on track. So I think the words, the words of affirmation, the words of power, speaking it into existence, plays right into developing the shark mindset.
And Vince, that's a spiritual law. And that leads us to the second sacred six. Sharks only look up, they never look down. Which is powerful, which means they're always optimistic, they're always positive, they're just looking for opportunities. And so unfortunately, again, going back to the news, if the media says the economy's down, everyone reacts to it. If the media says real estate is not moving, realtors stop selling homes, right? So sharks never look down, they only look up. And I've had people call me and say, Walter, I swim with sharks. And you're right, as long as you stay below them, they don't even notice you. Think about the word petty. I use that term a lot, that people get petty because you're looking at the wrong stuff.
Right.
I don't hang around petty people.
Right.
Right? And so sharks only look up, they never look down, no matter what.
Wow.
So when you teach that to people, and I'll give you an example, my dad died. Devastating. That's my man. That's my dude. That's my hero.
For sure.
But one of the positives of my father passing away, I was such a son. If he was alive, I'd still be a son.
100%.
Because he was my guy, man.
Right.
And so now when he passed away, it forced me to start thinking like a father and not a son. So I can make the argument, the positive attribute of my father passing away, it forced me to step up. Right. And that's a good thing, right? So I don't care what happens in your life.
Right.
There's always a silver lining.
Yeah. The
glass is always half full and it's never half empty. But I've seen people like, man, I was rolling, then my mom died.
Yeah.
I mean, everything was coming together, then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, COVID, man, COVID about 5 years ago.
5 years ago, yeah.
But if that is your lens,
right,
and if that's how you see your world around you, it makes sense, and you justify it. And people sit there, hey, wait a minute, your daddy been dead 10 years.
Right.
Right, we cry, we mourn,
right,
and then we move on. Right, it's a cycle of life. Yeah. So if we look at the wrong things, I've heard people say, man, you dwell on what you dwell in. Right, so whatever you're looking at, man, your whole world is going to be gravitated toward. So if you're looking up and focus on God, your spiritual life, the Bible, your whole world is going to frame around that. If you're looking at the media and negative stuff, your whole world is going to be framed around it. Right. So basically, sharks are very disciplined with what they look at. And they say when they see a target, they go into a trance. That's the best part about a shark. Once they lock in on a goal, they literally go into a trance. Michael Jordan, when the game's on the line, goes into a trance.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods, on his best day, back when he went into a trance, and we all would see it. So any high-performing individual, once they set a goal, they don't care about who's in the office in D.C. They don't care about the interest rates. They don't care about who's alive. I'm in a trance. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm in a trance.
That's it.
Like, I'm going to launch my own company. Why? I'm in a trance. I'm going to save my marriage. Why? I'm in a trance. I'm going to raise some great kids. Single, by myself. Why? Because I'm in a trance.
Right.
So if you want to be successful, all you have to do is adopt the shark mindset, learn our sacred six. And I'm telling you, we're helping people be positioned to become the best version of themselves. So sharks never stop moving forward or they die. Sharks only look up. They never look down. And I've had people confirm that who died with sharks. They're like, dude, these are incredible creatures, and they've been the boss of that ocean for millions of years. And if we can really adopt their attributes on land,
right,
we can be bosses and have dominion right here on Earth.
Now I scuba dive, and when I see a shark, it's on accident, purely.
Right.
Because I ain't, I'm a brother from the crib. I'm not looking for sharks, but I have been down there and I've seen them. And you just learn to freeze and hold your position.
Yeah.
They tell you don't move, don't breathe, don't do anything. You just hold. When they decide it's time to move on, they will.
Yeah.
And most times you give them a little opportunity, they'll go. I've seen them as shallow as 70 feet.
Wow.
And and I'm like, you should be way down there.
Right.
But hey, listen. But again, the respect that they command,
right,
because of their reputation,
right.
But and again, I don't go look for him. But scariest day in my life, I thought he was gonna smell me because of the urine I probably let go underneath that water, because boy, I was nervous, boy. And I've seen him maybe on 3 or 4 different dive trips.
Wow.
And listen, it's a. I don't go down there to mess with nothing.
Right.
But I'm watching.
Right.
And you're right. As that shark moves, you see a little small a school of fish, whether it be the suckerfish or whomever, right around him.
Right.
And he ain't bothering them.
Right.
They picking up his leftovers. Right. You know what I mean?
Yes,
they're eating because he eats.
Yeah. He's a king. He's a king.
He's running it.
And they eat scraps, man. And so hanging around a king is a benefit, right? And I'm telling you, man, sharks are amazing creatures. Jaws kind of screwed up the narrative of what they're really like. They don't even like to eat us, man. That's why you never hear about someone getting eaten by a shark.
Right, they bite you.
They take bites because they're curious, and they spit us out because they don't like how we taste.
That is a
but
fact.
Their curiosity.
They don't like seed oils?
Definitely seed oils. If they bite me, they'll love me because all the butter and all the healthy fats they gonna get out of there. But the seed oil people, they bite them and leave them alone, take a leg.
I learned something new about sharks today.
I'm telling you, but I told you. I was like, look, wait till he gets here. Just wait. All we gotta do, we're gonna just pitch the ball and just let him swing.
That's okay.
Well, you just led to Sacred Six number 3. Sharks are curious and always learning. And another reason why they're the boss in the ocean, not only are they relentless, not only are they positive, always looking for opportunity, 3, they're curious and always learning, which means they're the smartest fish in the ocean. John Maxwell put it this way: if you're going to be an expert in any industry, you should have read 2,500 books on the industry. So a lot of people want to be great leaders, but man, leaders are readers.
Leaders are readers.
Are you wise? Do you have leadership wisdom, right? So it's one thing to want to get paid or get respect and be elite. Whole other thing to work for it, right? And sharks are curious and always learning. And the reason why they stay as an apex predator, they're the smartest fish in the ocean. So in business, we got to be smart. In building companies, we need to be smart. In hiring and firing, we got to be smart. Marketing, we need to be smart. Selling, we need to be smart. In the marketplace, the way companies make money is by solving problems. That's how you make money. So companies, you never have to worry about the economy because there's always problems.
Right.
As long as you keep solving problems, you're going to make money. The moment you stop solving problems is the moment you stop making money. So wisdom to me says, how can I be such an expert in my industry that I can solve problems in any market? I can solve problems when the economy's up. I can solve problems when the economy is down. My job is to solve problems in my industry because there's problems everywhere. Sharks are the smartest fish in the ocean, and that's another reason why they're the king of the ocean and the apex predator. You don't meet people who are successful and not intelligent. You don't meet people who aren't successful and aren't wise. You can be intelligent and not wise.
Okay.
Wisdom is applied knowledge. You learn something and then you apply it, and that's called wisdom. Just because you know it, if you don't apply it, it's not wisdom. So people who are married, simple. You got the information, you applied it, and you stayed married. You got the information, you didn't apply it, you kept doing it your way.
Right.
You kept doing your thing, and it didn't work. And then I've been divorced 3 times. I've been divorced 4 times. I'm like, dude,
sound like 5
they all crazy? I give you one.
Yeah.
I give you one, but they all crazy.
Yeah.
So to me, with raising kids, they say that the first one is the experiment, and by the time you get 3 or 4, you know what you're doing, right? Because you increase your wisdom, as a parent, right? So for us to really master life, let's learn from the shark. He's curious and he's always learning. So if we're curious and always learning, that positions us to be more successful.
I love the phrase, and probably going back to number one there is I heard that in business, he who's willing to fall forward the fastest. Don't be an overthinker to the point where you overthink yourself out of the opportunity. Go ahead and try it. Fall forward. Fall forward and make more mistakes before that person who's the overthinker gets an opportunity to make their first move. You've already failed 3 times, and now all you did was learn from those failures, and now you're moving forward. You've already had 4 or 5 steps ahead, while that overthinker is still waiting to make their first move. By that point, the market has moved past them.
And then they regret. I should have bought that. I should have invested. Man, I hate, and you can do that the rest of your life. Sharks always make progress, right? And so sometimes progress can be as simple as just going to buy the website. You know, you want just go get the domain address. You've been talking about it for 5 years. Just go buy the domain address. Right? And that's a baby step. Right? So unfortunately, you just said it beautifully, Vince. A lot of people overthink situations. And they become paralyzed. They don't move forward. And what happens if you don't move forward? You drown. And so we have people walking with their eyes wide open, but they're suffocating through life because they have no progress. Progress gives life. You know, if you start having progress, having success. So we just launched Shark Mindset Apparel. Man, the moment I got this first batch of hats made, I sold 10 the first day.
How about it?
And I knew right then, I was like, okay, we got something here. The guy called me. His son's a top golfer. He thinks his son should be a D1 golfer. His son fell to Division II. And he's like, man, my son lost his confidence. He lost his focus. He got D1 talent, but he's not showing it. How can you help me? I said, he needs a sharp mindset. He said, well, what can I do? He said, man, send me 10 hats. And every golf tournament he plays in, his whole family gonna wear this hat, and he gonna learn the Sacred Six. And so if he blowing up a hole, all you gotta do is look at us and be reminded of the sharp mindset. So we're helping people really maintain that mental focus, because you can't fall apart in life. You know, we joke about that on the golf course. Oh, man, I fell apart. But the truth is, people are falling apart in life, and it's all mental. It's a mental thing. It's okay to have a bad day, but don't make it a bad week or a bad year. You know, you hear people say, I'm having a bad year. Why can't it be just a bad moment? I don't even believe in bad days. Man, that 30 minutes suck.
Right.
Amen. You had a car accident. Those 30 minutes between that accident and you waiting for the cop, filling out the police report, that was a bad portion of your day. That don't even make it a bad day, but sometimes people think like that. And they think everything is going downhill because they begin to gravitate toward negative stuff. Then they think, man, you know, I got bad luck. Like, no, man, you're focused on what's wrong with life instead of focusing on what's right with life.
Those negative words creep in.
So are there specific techniques that you teach to get over that? Because, I mean, I know people that are, let's say, and, you know, I know it's your favorite subject, they're so focused on politics. Every post they make on social media, every comment they make at a networking or charity event, it's always, and it could be both ways, right? Trump is the greatest, Trump is the worst, everywhere in between, you know, Congress sucks, you know, this is messed up, that's messed up. It's all negative, negative, negative. So are there some techniques that you can share that can get them out of that because you're not going to have a sharp mindset with your focus on stuff that you can't control.
Well, you know, we're talking about sharks. Sharks only look up; they never look down. Now, in that ocean, there's goldfish and there's snapper and there's all kind of other species, right? And I'm telling you, I'm just being honest that an elite person doesn't get distracted by that. You know, I have a let me out the car mentality. What does that mean? I don't care who's the president, Democrat, Republican, just let me out the car. Some folks are like, I do well in big cities. Well, I do well in the suburbs. Well, I do well in small towns. Where do you do well? Just let me out the car. Drop me off right here. I'll do fine in the suburbs. I'll do fine in the city. Drop me off in Italy. Drop me off in Germany. Drop me off in Japan. Just let me out the car. That's my mentality, because sharks are made of cartilage, which means they're very adaptable and they will pivot. I've loved Italy. I've loved Greece. I've loved Germany. Some of my teammates, when I played overseas, man, I missed the crib. Why, bro? This is amazing. We got different food, different culture. Man, let's go take a plane to Egypt. Like, are you kidding me? You want to go home to the crib and do what? Sit on the couch and do nothing around your same stale cousins that didn't do anything? And now you over here in another country learning a different culture, different environment. I would love to be in the NBA too, dude. But I'm in Italy. Are you kidding me? I'm in Germany. Oh my God. I'm in Venezuela. Are you kidding me? So to me, I don't care where you are. You can be negative, and unfortunately, that's not a person who's going to be an apex predator in that ocean. A person that I know. So, for example, I work with the NBA Retired Players Association. I know a lot of guys who are amazing basketball players, but as soon as basketball ended, they stopped moving forward. Mm-hmm. And they're 50 years old, 60 years old, still thinking like, dressing like, and acting like a ball player. Yeah. When my basketball career ended, we kept it moving because Sharks never stopped moving forward. I'm around my boys all the time. They'd be like, man, I forgot you played in the NBA. I don't even talk about it. Right. But that's not who I am anymore. Right. They don't make money for me. I'm talking about franchising. I'm talking about leadership. I'm talking about financial services. I'm talking about the speaking business. I'm talking about everything else. And sometimes my friends, well, ask Walter. He played in the NBA. They'd be like, he did? Right. You never talk about it because that's not who I am anymore. Right. I'm a business coach. I'm a business advisor. Let's talk about business.
So let's go back to that transition point. So you get to the point where you realize, you know what, this ain't for me. It's not going to happen the way I imagined as a kid. I had a little taste, had a cup of coffee. Boom. I even had some tea, went over here and had some espresso. But now, it's over. Putting the sneakers on the wall. Talk to me about that transition.
It was tough because I was 31. That's all I knew was sports. Mm-hmm. I played baseball, basketball, football. That was my life. That was my identity. The good news, as a young man, my father made me write down my whole life goals. Mm. I told my dad, I'm going to graduate college in 4 years. I'm going to play in the NBA. And I'm going to make more money in business than I did in sports. Mm. I made that commitment at 16. Okay. And the fact that I said I'm going to graduate college in 4 years, I'm going to play in the NBA, and I'm going to make more money in business than I did in sports. As soon as basketball started to dwindle down, I had another goal, and Sharks never stopped moving. Mm. I flew back from Germany. I was first team All-German. The Utah Jazz called me. They said, Walter, if Shandon Anderson doesn't re-sign, we're going to bring you back. All summer, I knew my Utah Jazz reunion was based on Shandon Anderson. Right. I'm at the club in Minneapolis working out, and a guy named Chris Carr came up to me, who's an NBA ball player. He says, Walter, did you hear? I was like, what? Shandon Anderson signed with the Houston Rockets. I ran home, packed my bag, waiting for my agent to call me, because I'm going to Salt Lake City today. Right. My agent calls me. I was like, man, what time's my flight? He's like, Walter, I got bad news. I said, what? Man, they decided to go with the extra big. I said, oh, man. They signed Pete Chilcutt.
Yeah. Who?
Pete Chilcutt. He played in North Carolina.
I know he is.
Big man.
Being funny.
And let me tell you something, man. I was 30. I dropped my gym bag and just plopped on the couch and cried like a baby. Mm-hmm. And my wife looked at me. I said, I'm done. This is it.
That's it.
That's it. But I'm going to make more money in business than I did in sports. And I thinked around for a couple of years trying to figure out what. And my college basketball coach, Clem Haskins, was like, son, you should be a motivational speaker. He spoke that to me when I left the University of Minnesota. Mm. And 10 years later, after broadcasting 2 years for the Minnesota Timberwolves, my wife and I were learning business. She had a job as a pharmaceutical drug rep. She wasn't crazy about her job. Mm-hmm. And I looked at her, I said, babe, let's start a motivational speaking business. And she said, I've heard you talk about that. She grew up listening to Les Brown, who's from Miami like her. And she was like, wow, okay, let's do it. So May 2001, we launched. And I'm telling you, man, within 36 months, we had doubled our NBA income. Wow. And so I flopped around for a couple of years trying to figure out what was next. Because to play professional sports takes so much focus and energy. I had never had a real job. I had no time to develop other skills. So in those 3 years, it was almost like I was going through a metamorphosis of transitioning from being a ball player to being a business guy. And once I got into the motivational speaking world, they loved me and I loved it. And I'm telling you, we have not looked back. Within 10 years, I was a Hall of Fame motivational speaker. We do big events for big clients. And it was really a moment that I know I married the right woman too. Yes. Right? She comes from an entrepreneurial family right here in Miami. But the fact that at 16, I told my dad, I'm going to make more money in business than I did in sports.
How about that?
And that commitment post-sports is what kept me going and helped me through that transition. So now I work with the NBA retired players, and one of my missions is to mentor and coach former athletes who who are struggling through that transition, need a little guidance through that transition. Now I'm the shark and they're the suckerfish.
Right.
And it's amazing because I'm talking about Hall of Famers. I'm talking about former lottery picks. I'm talking about household names. Call me, Walt, man. I want to do what you're doing, bro.
Right.
I'm proud of you. You're killing it. Help me. I'm talking about names that everybody heard of.
Right.
And if they're willing to be coachable,
right. Yeah.
You were a good ball player, but let me tell you something. We got the speaking business on lock.
Right.
I can teach you how to, and we coach Mark Eaton.
Right.
Mark Eaton grew a very successful business right there in Salt Lake City. I played with him in Utah. He would call me once a month, and he was awesome. And Mark, man, Walter, I'm so proud of you, man. I love everything you're doing. Will you coach me? Will you mentor me? All right, I'm the shark, and you the 7'5" suckerfish right now. And I coached him, and my wife and I helped him. And I'm telling you, Mark Eaton was on his way to being a star and had an unforeseen heart attack and basically dropped dead right in Salt Lake City. But great guy, great story, wrote a book. And we helped him transition out of sports, and he was so thankful, so appreciative. So for my wife and I, we coach speakers who want to grow their business. You don't have to be an athlete, but naturally we get a lot of people reach out to us who are former athletes, college. We get hockey players and baseball players, and we had a wrestler with one leg reach out to us and say, look, we saw you on YouTube. Can you help us? And so now we're the shark, and we're coaching people because for a long time I was a suckerfish. Right? And I was coaching and getting coached. But now that I'm a shark, we're recruiting other sharks.
There it is.
Saying, look, man, your life and your legacy is not based on your success anymore. Your life and your legacy is based on your ability to recruit others and help them become successful. And to me, that's the ultimate message behind a shark. They take suckerfish, that's a plural word. In incorrect English. Because we went to these top academic schools.
Did go to top
My mother was cringe if she heard me say fishes.
Yes.
But they take the suckerfish on rides and take them places they're not strong enough to go themselves. And that's what my high school principal did for me. That's what my college basketball coach did for me. And that's what we've been doing for millions of people around the world, saying, you know what, I'm a shark now, hop on board. You want to be an entrepreneur, let's go. You want to be a speaker, let's go. You want to grow your sales team, let's go. We got a solar company, they're a $3 billion company, signed up for our coaching program. They're like, Walter, we love your stuff. We want to be a $30 billion company. Lock on, let's go. We're going to coach you once a month and help your whole team develop the shark mindset. Because the truth is, to win a championship in life and business, you need your whole team with the right mindset. And that's what we see with the Chicago Bulls. That's what we're seeing right now in the playoffs. Who's going to be the last team standing? It's going to be the team with the strongest mindset, with the best execution, that operates like a champ. It's easy to be a winner, but it's hard to be a champ. And typically, the best team is standing at the end because they have the right mindset, they develop the right skill set, and collectively, they're working to become a champ. And anyone can be a champion if you have agreement within your organization.
So what are your thoughts on balance? Because when you're in business for yourself, you're an entrepreneur, you've got a family, maybe a couple, 3 kids, you've got a wife or a husband, if whatever. So you've got different lanes that you have to be focused in, right? When you're an entrepreneur, you got to be focused on your business 24/7 sometimes, it seems, but you can't be 24/7 and still sleep and feed your family and, spend quality time with the family. So what are your thoughts on balance? Because I've heard different ideas from different speakers where it's like, look, just put everything else out and focus on your business. Or just, and what do you say to that?
Well, I believe in balance because I want to be very successful in business, but I also want to be a great husband. I also want to be a great father. And they're just as important to me, more important than making money. Right? So to me, what good is it to me if I make a whole lot of money and my wife looks at me like, you're a freaking jerk, or my kids won't even talk to me? And I see that. I coach a lot of business people. I had a business guy call me. He says, Walter, I want to sign up for your coaching program. He had just heard me speak. And I always honor my wife before, my first thing out my mouth at any keynote, I honor my wife because she's my business partner. And I don't care if I get 10 minutes, she going to get a minute.
Absolutely. And
so a lot of the men are very wow, that's cool. Like, I've never heard a speaker honor his wife the way you did. And so I had one business guy reach out to me. He says, Walter, I want you to coach me. And not to make money, because I make plenty of money. I need you to help me with my family.
Yeah.
I've been married 4 times. I've been married 4 times and my kids hate me. All of them.
Yeah.
Because he's been so focused on making money that he didn't give any energy to being a good husband or being a good dad. The truth about kids, they don't want your money, they want you.
Yeah, that is a fact.
They don't,
That is a
they
fact.
Dad is making all this money, but he's never here.
Right.
I can't talk to him. I can't share these issues with him. I got bullied today. I got nobody to talk to.
Right.
And the truth is, you got to want to be a good father. You got to want to be a good husband.
Ooh.
And that's got to be just as important to you as being good in business. And to me, it should be more important than just making money, because how much money is enough? Everybody I ever met, they want more.
Right.
You want some more money?
Everybody.
You would love some
Maybe
more
a
money.
little
Everybody
bit.
need a
Me
little
too.
bit.
Everybody at home listening. We got this thing going viral.
Right.
Everybody want more money.
Everybody
So
want
when is
more.
enough?
Right. Yeah. And you know what? I always have a statement that somebody always, they're like, hey, you know, you happy? I'm like, man, I can be happy in the cardboard box on the corner by myself.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I'm happy here.
Right.
And my happiness brings me what I want. So that's how I function. That's how I flow. You know, me and him, we laugh about it all the time. He like, man, every time I talk to you playing golf, yeah, I have a good time. Good or bad day out there, I'm having a blast.
What's a bad day on the golf course?
Exactly.
doesn't
That's my entire point.
You
Is
know,
that we got so many breaths on this earth, and you know, I'm gonna try to use it the best I can. Did my best as a dad. Did my best as a husband. I'm doing these things. Hey man, this is what we doing. You know, because we got to live this life,
Right.
not just be a part of it. I don't want to just be the supporting cast member in this life. I want to live it.
the kids call that the non-player character, NPC.
Okay.
In a video game, that's the characters
Oh,
in the
just a little-
background.
yeah, right.
Like most people walking around
Hey,
the United
listen,
States, you know,
I've-
just kind of going through the motions.
I've been the background player in many
My 16-year-old
movies.
taught me something that
Yeah.
I can use, the NPC.
Movie sets. I've been the extra guy that just walked past. I've done that.
Right.
You know, now it's time to be the lead character,
Well, yeah.
and developing that mindset is what
I
it
gotta
takes.
say, I think Wall hit the nail on the head. I had a mentor when I was young in banking. I graduated from college. I sold cars for a little while. I got a job as a banker, and this little lady from Trinidad, Marie, was my branch manager. So I reported to the sales leader and had like a dotted line to her. And actually a former professional athlete came in, and nobody ever taught him how to use a bank account.
Wow.
And he was making, I think it was around 1.2 million a year, and his account was in the red.
Oh wow.
And he sat down and he goes, "Oh, Marie said you'd help me." And he goes, "How can I be out of money? I still have checks." And he showed me his checkbook. And this was after like client after client after client with problems. Kind of like you said, I didn't have a bad half hour. I had like a bad 3 hours.
Right.
And I was all bent out of shape, like, you know, my dog died or something. And she goes, "Drew, can I give you a piece of advice?" And she goes, "You know, you have two choices every day when you wake up. You can either choose to be happy or you can choose to be miserable and angry. If you want to be miserable and angry, focus on all the bad things that have
Right.
happened, or
Right.
things you don't have that you want, and whatever else. And then if you want to be happy, focus on what's going well. Focus on the good things in your life.
Right.
Focus on the aspects of your job that you love. Focus on the aspects of your family that you love. Focus on the fact that you have a family and really close friends who love you and would do anything for you, and you would return the favor." And you said it a slightly different way, but it's the same. And I mean, I was 23 at the time, so it stuck with me all these
Right,
years.
right.
So I thought that was it was kind of a turning point for me when I learned that I had a choice.
Well, the mind is a powerful thing, and a lot of times it's cultural. And I think a lot of times we need to be careful, even as parents around our kids, that we need to be positive at all times, because it's environmental. It's a cigar bar, right? So if you grew up in a home that was negative, you got taught to look at what's wrong with the world. And I see people all the time, they love to sit down and pontificate around what's wrong with everything. What's wrong with kids? What's wrong with friends? What's wrong with this group? What's wrong with that group? And, I mean, it becomes a lifestyle. And I'm almost like, and then you go to their family reunion, everybody's like that.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's
like, ooh,
a
this is
family
cultural.
tradition.
It's cultural.
It is.
You go to Jamaica, everyone has the same accent.
Yeah.
Right? You go to London, everybody's got the same accent. You go to the south side of Chicago,
Yeah.
and the truth is, culture has a language with it. And so if you come from a negative culture, there's a language that goes with it. If you come from a positive culture, there's a language that goes with that. I can't be too negative without feeling yucky.
Yeah.
You know, if I feel somebody being negative or talking about somebody or criticizing somebody, I literally get uncomfortable. And I'm like, okay, I can't believe I just said that. And I will remove myself because I see that influence being able to influence me. I'm like, ooh, this is not a good look for me. Let me go. And I will move. I will leave. I will excuse myself because I don't want to go home smelling like somebody else's smoke.
Right. Well, you know, I coming from where we come from, it's perpetual negative. Usually your economic structure in the area in which you live dictates the schools that you go to and all this other kind of stuff. We were fortunate to be able to test to go to some of those other schools, but I tested to go to a academic school, but I also only lived like 2.5 miles away from that academic school. And most of the time academic schools are built where? In the heart of the hood.
Right.
And so, you know, you got to still be able to overcome this mentality to take it into this mentality and to compete with those other kids and to be able to do something positive. But again, when you're around 4 negative people, you're probably going to become the 5th.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, if you go to another area where, and we talk about this as far as if your neighbor is you got a lawyer there, you got a dentist over here, you got a tax man over here, your kids see positivity.
Right.
When you come from a poor economic start and every parent you see comes home and tell you how much they hate their job.
Right.
Only thing that kid believes can get them out of there is the basketball court, football field, baseball, rapping, or dope.
Right.
That's it. Those are your only lanes.
And dope is corporate now, so you can't really compete.
You know, so again, right now, you know, they done cut the weed man out. 'Cause now you can go get buy legal weed. So, but I'm saying with these kind of scenarios, it's almost like when you say it's cultural. Yeah. It's cultural for them to fall into that scenario, and that's a harder hill to climb.
Yeah.
And which is why I usually encourage kids to, especially if you have an opportunity to go away even for just a year, get out of there. Get away from home.
Right.
And go to college for a year, 2 years, whatever.
Right.
But by the time you come back, you're gonna be different because you're gonna see things different. I had kids that came to school, baseball scholarship. They didn't last a semester. They couldn't be away from the crib that long, man.
Right.
The homies was calling. I'm like, yeah, but they still on 79th Street where you left them.
They'll be there.
And they gonna be there when you get back.
Right.
And they left.
Right.
Lives didn't turn out the way they thought it was gonna be. So again, it's a lot of those things, but that's why I said those suckerfish that manage to find that shark have to want to be on that shark.
They want to take a trip.
They got to be able to take, because there's some other suckerfish that be like, man, I'll be here when y'all get back. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be some suckerfish that don't survive.
You know, my wife tells a story that she grew up in Miami and they had a busing program. And she got a chance to go to a different school, not in her neighborhood. And it changed her life.
Yeah.
She went to North Miami High School. It was near the water. A lot of her classmates, families had homes on the water, owned boats, and it just showed her a different world.
Yeah.
And she started shopping at different malls.
Absolutely.
And her family was like, why are you going to that mall? She's like, this is me.
Yeah.
This is where I belong.
It changed her mindset.
It changed her mindset. And her life has been...
She's awesome, by the way. I love her, man. She's amazing.
Her life has become congruent with what she saw. Like, and I remember one day I was on an airplane, and, you know, I'm a big man, so I prefer first class.
Right.
And I got 1,000,000 miles on Delta, so
there you go.
Always sit first class. Even if I don't buy a first class seat, I get in first class.
You got to get there.
So you get to board the plane first. I'll never forget, it was a mom, and she had a son. It might have been his first time flying, and they called first class to go have a seat. And he was so eager, he was ready to get on the plane, and it broke my heart. The mother grabbed him and stopped him and said, "Baby, that's not us." And he looked around like, "What?" She was like, "That's not us. That's first class. That's not us." And she kept saying it like, "That's not us." And I just paid attention to it. And I was like, she didn't realize it, but she just planted a seed inside of her son's brain.
Yeah.
Those people sit in first class, and that's not us. And I noticed, I got on the plane, I'm sitting there, and I was looking for him to get on the plane. And he got on the plane just looking at everybody in first class, like who are these people? Like,
right.
And he would just, almost like his innocence had been violated by his mother, who probably meant well.
Right.
Because I've had parents tell me, like, you know what should I tell my kid? I don't want him to get his hopes up. I'm like, hope? All I got is hope. Right? And so a lot of parents mean well. They don't mean harm to their children.
You can't teach what you don't know.
That's why sometimes it's first degree murder and sometimes it's manslaughter.
Yeah.
Right? And so sometimes parents, based on their experience, you know, I tried out for the baseball team and it didn't work.
Right.
I tried a business and it didn't work. So I want to protect my child and say, you know what, you give me advice from your lens. And that's why you got to be careful when you get advice. They're giving you advice from their lens. It's impossible for you to give advice to someone else that's not coming from your lens.
Wow.
So if someone asks me, I want to play in the NBA and I never started in college, I say go for it.
Right.
Right? Because I did it.
Right.
That's my lens.
Right.
Another person might say, what? You didn't start in college, bro. Go get a job.
Right. Right.
If you didn't make your college basketball team, what makes you think you're going to play in the NBA?
Right.
I played college ball. I didn't start. I went and got a job. So our advice will be totally different based on life experience. So when you get advice from somebody, I hope you did your Wikipedia homework, because they're going to basically give you advice based on their life experience and what they have been through. And so when I'm at the country club where I live, we got 6 billionaires. You know what? They laugh about bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Like, you've only filed once? You know what I mean? It's almost like a joke, almost like a badge of honor.
Right.
Like, basically, like, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to file bankruptcy at least once.
Right.
That's not a big deal. I was on a private jet with a guy, and he says, Walt, billionaire. He said this to me, I never forgot it. He says, Walter, it's just money.
It's just
If I run out, we'll go and make some more. I was like, wow. He said, it's just money. It's just paper.
That's what my divorce attorney told me when I got divorced. He said, look, it's just money. Get this thing negotiated and you won't have to pay me tens of thousands of dollars.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, same. He's like, how old are you, 30? I'm like, yeah, I'm 30. He's like, oh, yeah, you're going to make more money. Don't worry about it.
The moral of the story to me, when I got done playing ball, I love being around NBA ball players because we had a mindset. It was like, you can't check me.
Right.
I'm a bucket. Can't nobody in here guard me.
Right.
And we believed it. We all believed it.
Yeah.
Right. And if someone scored on you or dunked on you, it was like, oh, you got me, but I'm about to get you back.
Right.
So it was a very competitive environment, and we all believed in ourselves at the highest level. And so when I left sports and started hanging out at country clubs, I began to see a different kind of swag. It wasn't based on athletic ability. It was based on their ability to make money and be successful. I never forget, one guy says to me, and I had no money coming at the time, but I believed in fellowship and getting around successful business people. And the guy says, man, it didn't cost me a lot of money. It's only 50 grand. Oh, wow. He talking about 50 grand like it's nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm at home, got no money coming in.
Yeah.
And my wife asked me a question, like, how are we going to pay for this? And I said, you know, it's not a lot of money. It's only 5 grand. And she looked at me like,
yeah.
Like, what got into you, the country club?
Yeah.
That's what got into me. 5,000 is nothing.
No.
We can sit here and make it seem like it's everything.
That's a lunch.
But I can look at 5,000 like it's nothing. I chose to look at 5,000 like it's nothing. Before I knew it, it was nothing.
Yeah.
But it all got predicated by my fellowship. And so unfortunately, sharks recognize other sharks. If you go to a zoo, sharks don't attack each other. They live peacefully because they understand abundance. Sharks are not haters. Think about it. You in the sea.
Yeah.
There's fish everywhere.
Yeah.
You know it.
Yeah.
I don't need to be beefing with you, dude.
Right.
There's literally fish everywhere.
Right.
So in life, if you're a true shark, you don't need to be a hater. You don't need to compete with anybody. There's plenty of money out here. There's plenty of opportunity out here. There's plenty of beautiful women out here. It makes no sense to be a hater. It makes no sense to be jealous. It makes no sense to be envious. But the truth is, unless you really understand that no one can stop you but you still might be a hater. You might get jealous. You might get envious. Sharks recognize their environment, and they respect and recognize other sharks. And that's why you can have a dream team. That's why you can go have a Mike and a Kobe and a Scotty and a Carmelo and a Stockton. They all play together. Why? Because we all sharks. It's okay. We can coexist. Just pass the ball. You pass the ball. We're going to be fine. Let's go in the goal. And so in life, that's the kind of environment you have to have on your team. Like, look, we all can win, man. We don't need to be competing against each other. I don't need to send you a dirty email. I don't need to be backbiting. I don't need to be politicking you. Why don't we all win and win together? Because when you win in sports, everybody's equity increases. Mm-hmm. But when you lose, everyone's equity fails. Mm-hmm. So think about the people that work for, Facebook or work for Google or work for, man, they can go anywhere and get a job. I used to work for Google. Oh, yeah. I was the head of IT for Google.
Yeah.
Man, there's a million companies all over the world that say, you work for Google? Why? Because I was part of the winner.
Right.
So make your company win and everybody wins. But if you don't think that way, you're not really a shark, because sharks respect their environment, and they recognize other sharks. So one thing we teach, the shark mindset, is like, man, leave your company in better shape than what you found it. Leave your department in better shape than what you found it. Leave your marriage in better shape than what you found it. And so to me, that's what sharks do. Sharks just don't go around attacking, just to be killing stuff. They eat to live, but they don't live to eat, and they do what's necessary. That's why they will bite us and spit us out, because they don't want to eat us, because we're not a part of their diet, and they're not down there reckless, right? So in life, we can't be reckless. It's got to be strategic. You got to have a plan. You got to have a strategy. You have to be disciplined. You got to respect your environment, because you're going to have a bad reputation if you don't. Don't do business with him. Oh, man, he's no good. He did a bad business deal 3 years ago. Now you got this bad reputation. I just had a buddy of mine went missing in Chicago. Went missing. You know what I called my boy, grew up with him, right in Marino. I'm watching the Chicago media, and I see my boy come up that I grew up with, missing. I was like, missing? I called my boy who's a cop in Chicago. He said, well, Walter, he used to be on drugs. And Walter, he owe a lot of people money. He does flim flams. I never heard that term. What's a flim flam? You know that term? I ain't hip to Chicago anymore. He's like, this is a cop. He's like, he does flim flams. So unfortunately, this dude who I grew up with, I lost touch with. I don't know what path he went down. He's missing for 10 days. I called the cop, and the cop was like, well, he was on drugs. And he's shady and on flim flam. And I was like, so he's supposed to be missing? You know what I'm saying? I was just like, okay, it's okay that he's missing. What he was really saying is like, look, he done some shady stuff. And he's about to reap what he's been sowing, most likely. And it sounds bad, but I don't know.
Wow.
Versus, he's a great guy. I'm going to go look for him myself. We're going to put it on all the media outlets. We're going to do a bulletin because this is salt of the earth kind of guy, right? So to me, how's he been moving? And that's my point. Sharks move different than every other fish. And in life, you're going to get out of life based on how you move, right? And so sharks have incredible movement. And so that's how a person can become a millionaire, lose it, and become a millionaire again. You can have another person start as a millionaire, but based on how they move, they broke when they die. Right? So it's basically everything that we do in life is based on our movement, and the whole world responds to our movement. That's what people don't understand, man. As you begin to move as a ball player, for me, the whole basketball industry moved around it, right? And so when I got into the business world, I began to move in the business world, and the business world began to react to my movement. So any entrepreneur, any small business leader, any solopreneur, I don't care if you're selling socks out your trunk, your movement is what's going to be the difference in your success, and the marketplace will respond to your movement. Under Armour started selling things out the trunk.
Very true.
Jersey Mike Suggs just sold for $8 billion. Their client started with one store and ended up with $8 billion. But Peter Cancrow's movement was amazing. The way he interacted with people was amazing. The way he built a simple business and helped bless other franchisees for them to become millionaires was how he moved. It wasn't about him, it was about them. He served people. Let me tell you one thing he did as a business leader. About every 10 years, your franchise agreement requires you to remodel your store. That's why every now and then you see a fresh look at McDonald's, you see Burger King with a fresh look. Every franchise, especially QSRs, every 10 years in your franchise agreement, you know that, man, I got to pay for this remodel. I signed up for it. So I got to make this money for 10 years. So when it's time to remodel the house, I got to look in there. How about Peter Cancrow hired me? We went around the country. He said, I told you guys we're in it together. Everybody's like, yeah, whatever. It's time to remodel. Everybody's grumbling. He said, man, we're in this together. I'm going to pay for all the remodels.
Boom.
$75,000 a piece. About 2,000 stores. He paid for them.
Do that math.
That's a lot. That's a lot of ZD.
We'll
Guys,
as we say in Italy, that's a lot of ZD.
I saw grown men crying.
Yeah.
They could not believe it. They were like, who does that? Shark.
But the
Shark.
The loyalty, the motivation that he bought with that little bit of money.
They knew.
Incredible.
Then he showed them that I told you we're in this together. And now let me show you we're in this together. Because some people are doubting Thomas. Right. They don't believe him till they see
150 million is no small investment.
Bro.
I think it was more like 200 million. He paid for all the retrofits himself. And what it did for the brand, it really got them all on one accord.
Right.
That, man, we are all in, man. Because if he can do this for us, man, that I trust this man with everything. And that's what a lot of franchise brands struggle with, because that franchisee, every day they wake up, they have a question. Does my franchisor care about me or not?
Right.
He took that question away.
Killed it.
And now they took over the sub game. And Subway's looking around like, what happened?
Yeah.
And I've been inside that beast for 8 years. We help them with their training, their development, and they really invest in people. So I tell all my clients, you know what, if you want to be a successful company, you got to operate like a shark, but you got to take care of your suckerfish. Let me tell you something. If you take care of your suckerfish, they will become sharks themselves.
Absolutely.
And that's what I learned in my own experience. I had a great high school principal. I had a great college basketball coach. I played for Jerry Sloan in the Utah Jazz.
Yes, sir.
And so I was around great coaches, and they taught me how to be a shark. And so now I'm a shark. And that's the whole metaphor of the shark and the suckerfish. If you hang around a shark long enough, you will become a shark yourself. And the only thing you can't be is a parasite. And we didn't break that down.
I was just going to ask. I literally was waiting for a pause so I can be like, all right, you talked about sharks and suckerfish for an hour. What about the parasites?
Well,
so,
you know, I almost want to have a cliffhanger, because people who read the book get the metaphor of the shark, the suckerfish, and the parasite.
So
and it's a parable. And one of the guys, when the book started, named Paul, showed up, thought he was that dude. And he was the average American guy out here trying to get his. And as the story unfolded, he learned about the shark, he learned about the suckerfish, and he learned about the parasite. And I'm telling you, it was a moment in the book that I think for my business people who read it, they look like, I've been trained wrong. I've been looking at this business environment. I've had grown men come to me and said, man, I've been a freaking parasite.
Yeah. You're like, I'm Paul.
$1 million parasite.
Yeah.
Because if you ever just take and don't think about giving back. And I'm not talking about giving away turkeys and calling the local news.
Right.
People do that all the time.
Right.
Wait. I'm going to give away turkeys, but I'm going to invite all the media here.
Yeah.
That's so fake to me, man. Give the turkey out, bro.
Yeah.
You got to call the media so everybody sees you giving away the turkey.
Right.
That is fake. That's not genuine. God ain't looking in heaven and say, I'm going to bless you because you're fake giving.
Yeah.
You know, you want everybody to see what you're doing because it's really about you. If you're really generous, you don't even have to tell anybody.
That's right.
That's just who you are, right? So you can't fake this thing, man. Either you are a shark or a suckerfish, which is fine, but you're never to be his parasite. Let me tell you something, man. God is trying to get money through us, not to us. And if you think God is just trying to get money to you, and you're a clog in the wheel, he's not going to give you money because you're stingy.
Right.
You selfish. You greedy. It's all about you. But if God can get money through you, he can trust you as a vessel. He'll get more to you because I can use you to bless other people, basically.
Law of abundance.
And I just saw a guy sell a business for 8 billion people. And I've been around this man for 8 years. He takes joy in blessing other people.
Yeah.
And I've watched him almost give someone a blessing and he tear up himself. And I'm just like, now I tear up when people bless me. Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm so grateful.
Right. Thank you. You changed my life. I watched this man for 8 years bless other people, and the joy that they show when he blesses them blesses him. And now he's gotten blessed with an $8 billion transaction. So I saw the whole thing develop. I saw the whole thing unfold. But let me tell you something. When COVID hit, he called me. And he said, Walter, I read the book Swim. He bought everybody a copy. He says, I'm a shark, so we got to pivot. Sharks are made of cartilage,
right,
which means they're very adaptable. So when COVID hit, nobody knew what to do. He called me, and I'm sitting at home with nowhere to go, so I answered.
Right, yeah, right.
He said, Walter, I'm a shark. You're right. So we're going to pivot. We're going to feed all first responders free. Cops, firemen.
I got some of that.
Essential workers. He said, we're going to feed them all free because America's in trouble. And we're going to give every customer a 50% discount. But I'm going to back up my franchisees so they're whole. So if you're a franchisee, you sold a sub for half price, and Peter sent you the other half. And he did that through COVID. And I think what happened, he won the heart of America.
Yeah.
I think America was like, man, they were there for us when I was in my darkest moment.
Yeah.
And that alone was, again, sharks only look up. They never look down. COVID hit. They pivoted like sharks do. And all of a sudden, it became a blessing because they served people in their darkest hour. And all of a sudden, the momentum of Jersey Mike's. He did that in conjunction with paying for retrofits. He does a lot of training, so kids are learning how to lead. They're learning how to communicate. He literally changing lives, inside of the brand and providing great service. And I just saw, and most companies cut out training.
Yeah.
You know, most leaders are like, all my people are idiots.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
look, you in the people business, man. If you're not willing to serve people, to me, you need to get out the people business.
Absolutely. Well, tell them how they can get the book. That's what they need to know. How can they get the book?
You know, it's a movement at this point. You know, today my wife had a call with the school district in Missouri that they want to bring us in to do a whole lesson for their football team. We created curriculums. You know, the shark mindset is really about a person being able to govern themselves better, right? And so it's a movement. You know, it started as a fishing trip,
right?
Turned into a movement.
How about that?
But you can go to walterbond.com.
Okay.
You can go to sharkmindset.com. We just bought that domain name. Or you can go to peakperformancehuddle.com. But honestly, at this point, if you just type in Shark Mindset, we're going to come up there.
Coming up.
Because we're owning that word. But walterbond.com and sharkmindset.com are the best two places to get resources. We have apparel. I just spoke to a manufacturer today from Pakistan. We're going to start getting our materials produced overseas. And we're going to make quality clothes. I mean, we're going to have quality, high-end premium apparel, but it's going to be clothes with attitude. I don't want you wearing this hat because you just think it's cool.
Right.
I want you to wear this hat because you are a freaking shark and you understand the shark mindset. We got a college football team, Sioux Falls, University of Sioux Falls. They built their whole locker room culture around the shark mindset. So I'm going to speak to them August 14th, and we got a special treat for them.
Okay.
I'm going to make them some custom clothes with the Shark Mindset logo on it. Because anyone who believes in the Shark Mindset, they're going to get results. And it's really a movement right now. And you can wear Nike, you can wear, you can wear Under Armour, but Shark Mindset gear, it's going to be a message and a story behind it to help you be successful. And we've never seen a clothing brand with basically a curriculum with it.
Yeah.
You know, Nike had Just Do It. Remember that?
Right.
Just do it.
Just
That's
do
all it was a slogan. Right. And people love the slogan.
Right.
But we we got books.
Right.
We got trainings. We got curriculums. We can go to school districts and teach all your students Shark Mindset. We're from Chicago, man. Think about all the kids from around the way who got born and raised in just a bad situation.
Yeah.
Man, if they can go to school and learn the Shark Mindset. When I transferred high school, my best lunch events, I went to the west side of Chicago, and my old man was built for it. I'm the only kid who paid for lunch. And most of these kids came from single parent homes. Right. And that's when crack hit the streets.
Yeah,
So a lot of their parents were smoking crack. It was just a bad time in America, especially Chicago.
That meant that he had the money to pay for lunch. Most of the other kids they got free lunch.
They got free
on
lunch.
The government.
My parents made too much money.
Had to clarify that, for those.
Everybody knows that. That's not.
They don't know, man. We got some folks on here that they ain't never.
They don't know about.
They never felt that.
You said it was on the government, but it's really on the taxpayer.
Government.
Government doesn't pay for anything, but that's besides the point. Right. Keep going.
So, well, moral of the
and
story,
we don't want them to because we're already out of the car.
Right.
Yeah. Moral of the story: when I went to my father's school on the west side. Man, these were good kids, but they were raising themselves.
Tough situation.
I couldn't imagine being 14 and I'm responsible for dinner for me and my little siblings.
Yeah.
I can imagine at 15, I don't know where I'm going to sleep tonight. And I'm at my aunt's house. They don't really have room. She really doesn't want me there, but I'm her niece and she got to take me. So I'm in a home with no room and she don't want. I couldn't even imagine psychologically dealing with that, and then you going to school trying to study,
right?
Going to school doing homework, and so I saw that up close. And what hit me really, being a South Side kid, going to school on the West Side, my dad would wake up and cook breakfast. I would eat breakfast at home, drive to the West Side, and they gave out donuts for breakfast because a lot of these kids couldn't afford breakfast. Right. And I was going to get my donut too.
Absolutely.
Being greedy. And one of my boys, hey, Walt, let me get that donut. And I'm like, man, you got your own donut. Why you gonna take my donut? And I didn't think anything of it.
Right.
And I saw him collecting donuts in the lunchroom. And I was like, bro, why you collecting donuts? You greedy? He's like, nah, man. I'm like, man, why you collecting donuts, man? You got like 8 donuts in your pocket. And somebody grabbed him like, whoa, man, chill out.
Yeah.
He was collecting donuts for his brother. That might be dinner. And my greedy butt, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I'm eating breakfast at home.
Yeah.
Scrambled eggs, bacon, and toast.
Yeah.
I went to being greedy, got my donut, and I was being a parasite, basically.
Right.
He asked me for my donut, and I'm like, man, you got your donut. Why you asking? I'm thinking he being, and I'm the one being greedy. And when I learned that lesson, I was like,
wow.
Oh my God, he's collecting donuts for later today.
Yeah.
Who eats a donut for dinner? When you broke
Yeah.
You'll eat a freaking cracker
Whatever's
whatever he might not have eaten yesterday on the weekends. So the biggest mistake, the biggest challenge of COVID, a lot of our low income kids couldn't go to school and eat.
Yeah, that's true.
So they were at home, and these mom and dads were stricken with 3 meals a day. And I know that because I went to school in these environments. The average American don't get that.
No.
But why don't you do your homework? Why you not worried about your future? How can I think about my future when I'm hungry today?
Yeah.
And so that's why sometimes kids in poverty can't study. They can't focus because they're hungry. They're thinking about surviving.
There's no why.
And they're not even thinking about their future because I got to get through today.
There's no why.
Right. And then crimes of poverty are real too. So I experienced that, and that's another benefit of me flunking up my first high school. That's why you never look down.
Right.
You always look up, and that experience going to Whitney Young with a bunch of bougie kids.
Yes, sir.
And then going to the West Side with Chicago's, finest. I mean,
we'll go with that.
just really rounding me out. And I still got friends from the West Side.
Absolutely.
I got friends from Whitney Young. And man, being supported as a kid is something we can't take for granted. And I got mad respect for that person who came from nothing.
Yeah.
And made something
some of my favorite people.
Without any criminal activity, like bro,
some of my favorite people.
I applaud you because I saw it and I saw the impact my dad had on his kids. And I was like, man,
right.
This is a blessing for me to go to high school in the hood. People like, man, oh man, we feel sorry for you, man. You gotta go to the West Side. I was like, had a great basketball team, but I saw life, man, and it's added a lot of value to who I am today.
Boom.
It's pretty damn cool stuff, man. Congratulations on all your successes, man. That's really amazing. I love it.
Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you?
Yeah, you told me he was big time and he didn't disappoint, man.
I told you.
So,
it's mindset. It's all about mindset.
And it's a good thing you guys are tight because I don't think we could afford them. So
no,
I'm glad
you didn't hear? I'm sending the invoice.
I gotta call my great uncle in Sicily.
Right.
I'll make a deal, man. Give me a
Get my
Sicilian
protection.
meal. Give me a Sicilian
Listen,
meal.
look, man, I'm a little mad at you because you didn't watch the deep dish pizza.
Yeah, he's gonna
You're
watch
a Chicago
it. Bro,
guy.
I
You didn't
missed
watch
it.
the deep dish pizza making
I
episode.
will make it. You got a recipe on how to make deep dish?
Dude, we got a video. You don't need a recipe. I did the whole thing
I am
in front
straight
of
Chicago.
Scroll up, you'll see it.
I will find the video, and I promise you.
Okay.
I promise
I'll
you.
link it.
Oh,
There it is.
deep dishing.
There it is.
Dishing
I
with the
told
twins.
you. I told you.
I have zero flour at home. What do they call it? Double zero flour?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
fancy.
I cook, bro.
He's
We do homemade
He's gonna
pizzas
eat the
at my
pizza
house.
with his pinkies
Man,
out.
listen.
Man. I
We
like
make
that.
homemade pizza at my house.
No
I make
doubt.
the crust, let it rise. Oh man, I love to cook. I will watch this.
You gotta watch
and I
it.
promise
We
you,
did. You gotta try it and
It'll be
then tell us
about
how.
the best 30 minutes of your day right there.
Well, when we
Yeah.
bring you back,
Yeah.
we'll get the rest of the
Yeah.
shark
promise
points.
you.
Pillars? Shark pillars?
No, the six,
Sacred Six.
Sacred Six. We'll get the
Sacred
rest
Six.
of the Sacred Six.
I gave
I'll
you
have
three.
already read
Right,
your
you got
book,
three.
so I
And
know.
You got 3.
Well, I'll have already read your book, so that I'll know
Yeah.
what a parasite is.
Yes.
And then we'll talk about you trying our recipe for deep dish.
There we
Fair,
go.
that's a fair trade-off.
Well,
man.
it's been an absolute pleasure. You are welcome
Yes,
back
sir.
anytime, my new
Absolutely.
friend.
Thank you,
My
man.
man.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And
Well-
go ahead.
Hey, man, listen. Once again, y'all know what I'm asking you to do. I know you like this episode, so go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Definitely click the little bell icon, but you're going to want to share this one. And as a matter of fact, and we're going to put down all of those information so you can get the book. It's going to be in the details below. Make sure you
Get
go
some
ahead
gear,
and follow.
too.
Get
Get
the
some
gear, get the book. Start with the book, educate your brain, and cover your brain with the hat, t-shirts, all that other cool
Sharkmindset.com, WalterBond.com. Check it out. Get the book.
I've already
get some
seen
swag.
I've already seen the swag, so I already know what time it is.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, I already got it, so it's dope. Anyway, I want to thank my man for coming down today, man, blessing us with your presence and bringing down and introducing the Shark Mindset not only to us here in the pod cave, but to
Twin
everybody
Cave.
else.
You named it the Twin Cave.
I
Get
Twin
the right
Cave.
name.
Identical twins.
Identical.
You can't even tell the difference.
They got the same heart.
That's
see?
it. So, we're in the Twin Cave. I'm blown away right now, man. Listen, I'm very grateful you came, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yes, everything that Vince just said, and we'll catch you next week on Podcast Twins.
Podcast Twins, we out.